on Secret Invasion, episode 1.
What an episode. What an
My
opener.
my god. Do you want to talk about the controversy off the rip?
I mean, sure, let's start. I'm happy to start wherever.
The opening credits are generated using AI.
As an artist who has watched this AI thing and I've played around with it, I think it's such a tough topic to. There's people that just see the word AI and instantly like, all AI is bad.
AI is becoming the new crypto very quickly.
Yes. And this was proven when I saw a thing going around Twitter, which got shut down very quickly by artists. But someone was like, oh my God, AI is already stealing jobs. It was used on Spider-Verse because it's used to redo a lot of like the facial lines because that is a very repetitive task, which is very boring for an artist to do. And it's actually helping speed up the creative process in a good way. And everyone's like, no, this is all loads of artists kept quote retweeting about, no, this is called ethical AI. This is what we want. We need to be mad at generative AI. Now, the title sequence is generative AI, but it's done by a studio and it's done, in my opinion, for a specific style choice of that look that plays very much into the whole like shape shifting and allows this like weird flow between like what objects are changing shape and stuff. I think it works perfectly for what the show is. I have no issue with them using AI in that way because I know artists have been behind it and put it together.
So I think my thoughts are. I think over the course of the AI discussion over the last couple of months, I've come to where I stand roughly. AI should have always only been used to take a repetitive task and make it so a human doesn't have to want to blow their brains out doing it. Anything creative, anything that requires actual brain power and actual thought should be left to a human. And in the grand scheme of just the world, what that should then allow humans to do is focus on more important stuff, like actually making the art, and they don't have to worry about like for a 3D model or whatever, where you have to like redraw it like at 1 degree. You can set an AI up to do that really repetitive task, and you can just double check its work to make your life easier. And like AI to do spell check with like additional context or whatever. For like where the English language is shit. That is good uses. Or if there was like for my job, a machine where I could put what I'm working on and it could use AI to diagnose any problems with it and then just tell me what needs to be repaired. Perfect. Save time for the human, not get rid of their job.
There's, for the art side of things, there is a lot of good use cases for AI in that are used in the creative process. The issue I have with AI is when these sites pop up that like you generate AI with a word prompt. And the issue is actually like the real issue that people need to remind themselves that like we want to focus on is these sites that do this by scrubbing the internet for images, reference images for their database without getting any permission. That's the issue that people have. And it's mainly from generative AI. Now, to me, that title sequence was very specific in what the things it was showing. It was very specific in getting that style of shifting things between, which would be very difficult for an artist to do or very time consuming. So I don't think it's bad that AI did that. I think an artist has definitely driven that in the right direction and used it in the right way. Because while yes, an artist could have done that, it would have been a lot of effort to get it to have that same feel.
Yeah. So I think I agree with you there. I think as long as there was still like as long as and that this is the biggest crux, as long as no one lost their job because of it.
Well, no, it's a studio
I
called
actually
Method
yeah,
Studios did it.
I actually kind of agree. I like it. It made me feel a bit uneasy because it looked a bit weird, and you had like these like morphing from one thing into another, and it did capture the whole essence of what's going on
Yep.
really well. yeah, it looked a bit goofy, but I'm sorry, we're watching a show about aliens who are angry that a superhero hasn't found them a new homeworld yet, so they're shape-shifting into a bunch of different people to overtake the planet and make it their own. Is that not goofy enough as it is?
Yeah.
Let's gain some perspective here.
Do you know why I think the people that are mad, some of them will generally be because of the AI thing. I think a lot of them is just because it's Marvel that's done this. And they see Marvel, they're like, oh, they're cutting corners. They're trying to not pay artists.
I like to think that a lot of the people who are against it are people like myself who aren't artists and are worried that artists were getting shafted by it.
Yeah,
I hope that's where most of it's come from.
probably is.
People going, I know nothing about art. That is definitely AI generated. Have they just sacked off some artists?
It's the crypto thing again, like you said. It's like people will be seeing that, oh, yes, the title sequence was made using AI. And they're like, holy shit, AI made this. I'm angry now. And it's like, okay.
And I think the general rule of thumb is have a healthy dose of skepticism. Double check. If anyone's lost their job because of it, yes, call Marvel out on their bullshit. If it's just the artist went, no, this is to save a bit of time or capture a very unique style that we're struggling with, and we drew what we wanted and then we let AI make it look more AI-y.
Yeah, I imagine they gave image prompts and stuff. Because there's like, I, whatever you say, like, there's no, I'd be surprised if any current generative art thing, like Midjourney or anything, could recreate that. Like, if you can't really put in, oh, I want a scroll to turn into Nick Fury and back again, but it's Nick Fury with an eye patch in this weird painterly style, and I want it green and a bit of purple, and it's like it's gonna struggle with that to get like. There's definitely image prompts that went in there and stuff. It's like, yeah, I think unneeded anger, to be honest.
I like I said, I want to think it all came from a place of protecting artists, and then it
I
just got
imagine it
spiraled
did.
by other people. Which I mean is a good sentiment to have. It's nice that people want to protect artists, but let's keep a grip on what we're doing
Yeah,
and not lose sight. Because I think a lot of the time with stuff like this, people tend to lose sight of the actual issue, and then it gets it so watered down that no one takes any of it seriously.
Yeah, agreed.
However, the actual show.
Yes, the show itself.
I liked it, man.
It was so good. What a mind fuck, though.
I've long said that I'm a huge sucker for Winter Soldier and the spy thriller feel it gives.
Yep.
I've always said that James Bond is one of like my favorite franchises because a good James Bond film is just unbeatable.
Yep.
Oh, it was hitting them bits of my brain.
It was hitting the James Bond feel.
Yeah, it was giving it. I was loving it.
I love the fact, and we've talked about this a lot with recent superhero stuff of like not wanting end of the world thing. They very quickly and very like in a good way have grounded this very much around Fury and being his issue and an issue about him, which immediately kind of nulls this down to like, okay, this doesn't feel like end of the world, even though it's very much like they're trying to take over the world, but it's like, it doesn't feel like, holy shit, this is an end of the world thing, like, get the Avengers. This, they've kind of shut that off, so you feel like it's focused on Fury, which I think is a good thing, and it's gonna give people that feeling that like, oh, we're in this with Fury, like this is his problem he's trying to fix. Already was mind fucking us with when Fury left, where like what's been going on. I like that they're leaning into this idea that he is a very different person since the blip.
Yeah, it's clearly fucked him up a bit.
Because we saw it a little bit with some of the superheroes that got blipped, like Tony, when we saw him after that and he got brought back. Like or after people got blipped in front of him, like we saw it from that side of like people watching it happen. We haven't really too much like seen the side of like what it's like for someone who was blipped.
It's been explored a tiny little bit with Yelena, where we got that really cool scene, and she was like stuck. We didn't get a lot of that. We saw Monica, but a lot of that was obviously centered around she was next to her mum on her deathbed, and then she came back and her mum's been dead for 5 years.
Yeah,
which is obviously a lot to go through. But yeah, we've not just seen how it would affect a normal fucking person who like didn't have something else going on. They just lost 5 years of their life.
Well, and it's also like it's so like understandable for Nick Fury because he was always that person who he knew who all the superheroes were before we did. Like this idea that he knew everything that was going on, but he still lost, and then he had to deal with that idea that like he's still lost when he's normally in control. And I liked how kind of, and I saw that those. I think the director mentioned it, like the choice of not him not having his eye patch in the moment is him in this like vulnerable state that he is at the moment of like unsure what's going on.
I think we get like a suit up scene
Yes.
later in the show where he goes for the big long black trench coat. He
Well,
cleans up the beard. He puts the eye patch on.
I think it was in the last trailer. It showed that there's that picture as well where it goes into like a graveyard, like mausoleum thing, where they've got him on the walls. I
Yeah.
think that's whenever that scene happens is a suit up scene, I'm pretty sure.
And I'm a sucker for a suit up scene. It's
Yeah.
always so good.
It'll be great. I like the twists they're already putting in. And they're already trying to confuse us and make us doubt ourselves.
The first scene with
Yes.
Martin Freeman really set expectations for the feel of the entire show. You've got Martin Freeman having the interaction with the guy, and like instantly, because I'm suspicious as fuck, I'm like, okay, so is Martin Freeman a scroll?
Where's the
Because
guy?
this guy's like really anxious about scrolls and he's giving information over. So is Martin Freeman a scroll just trying to get the information from him? And then the guy attacked him, I'm like, oh shit, is he the scroll? And then Martin Freeman killed him to escape. I was like, oh no, okay, cool. He just got really paranoid that Martin Freeman might be a scroll. Martin Freeman had to protect himself. Martin Freeman's not a scroll. And then he starts getting chased. I'm like, yeah, look, there's the scroll trying to chase him to get the information.
So
It's
you didn't go to the website and watch the thing that was like the first couple of minutes or whatever.
no,
So obviously I did, and I saw that the thing that they showed us was obviously that interaction of Martin Freeman, and it's like the bit it cut on that is as he's looking at the thing, and then the agent tackles him. As he like runs at him, it cut. So I knew from that, I was like, okay, someone gives someone's dodgy here or doesn't trust the other for some reason. And yeah, I was the same. I was like, does this guy think Martin Freeman's a scroll? Then they got in a scuffle. I thought someone shot the agent. I thought someone had like come in and shot the agent
yeah.
off Martin Freeman. I was like, oh shit, who's here? And then I was like, wait, no, it was him that shot him. Then I'm like, okay, he just didn't trust him for some reason.
Which makes sense. He's a paranoid fuck.
Yeah, I was like, okay, he just got over paranoid. Because then he's like, he patches through to
Hill.
yeah, to Hill. And they're like, oh, okay, so it's Martin Freeman. Then he's getting chased. Like, okay, he's been chased by a scroll. They found him. Was told that's where I was like, okay, he's being chased by a scroll now. Wasn't expecting it to be the flip.
Yeah, and it's Talos, and he was the
yeah,
scroll. And then you got Hill like, holy shit. And this is, and like off the back, we get our first question. How long has Martin Freeman's character been a scroll?
yes.
Now,
Go on.
I'm just going to get busy with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was still a human in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Purely because the scroll that was playing Martin is obviously part of this resistance that wants to take over the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Freeman in Black Panther Wakanda Forever was trying to keep everyone calm and not escalate. Starting a war between America and Wakanda would have been perfect for the Skrulls.
Well, here's my thing. He doesn't like the times we've seen Martin Freeman. It could have been him. This guy doesn't have like the car. It doesn't necessarily always have to be like he could have been in Wakanda doing his thing, and then this guy's been impersonating him as a scroll.
Yes and no. Okay, so it gets a bit complicated, and we'll talk about this more when we get to a little bit later in the show. But a scroll can only access your memories if they like get hold of you.
Well, that's if Yeah, but he doesn't necessarily need to have
No,
his
but he's a
memories.
secret agent. So if he's gonna get away with actually being a secret agent, he needs to know what he knows so that he doesn't accidentally out himself. Because
True.
you'll notice, like when Fury sits down with Olivia Colman's character, he's like, "You'll remember my favorite drink's bourbon," and like the thing from
Mm.
Captain Marvel with the toast.
Hmm.
It's these things that, I mean, I don't know if secret agents in real life do, but like we've always been led to believe secret agents have these little things that people know is them versus an impersonator.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because scrolls, we were led to believe they couldn't have all the memories. Um, so that's how you would tell. But now jumping ahead a bit, like we see them shove them into these pods, and what looks like they're bringing their memories to the forefront. They obviously have figured out a way to access humans' memories to better disguise themselves as that person,
Yeah,
which is a bigger problem because now we really aren't going to be able to tell who is and who isn't a scroll.
exactly.
Um, Now, I saw your messages with Luke.
Yes,
I fully believe Hill is dead.
I'm not sure.
I'm just jumping to that. I fully believe it because they held too long on that body.
So so fuck the internet. Maria getting shot got spoiled for me.
Oh, did it?
Yeah,
Oh,
at like 9 o'clock yesterday
oh,
morning,
tough scenes.
I literally like opened Twitter and it's just like the first thing I see. I wasn't even on the cutscene Twitter. I'm
Oh,
like, really, guys? Like, not even 9 hours. Um,
that's a tough one.
so once I knew that had happened, as I was watching the episode, every time a scroll died and transformed back, I was like in my head, I was kind of like counting to like work out roughly how long, and they hovered on Maria just long enough
Mm.
that she could have just been about to turn, but it might. It's one of them ones where it could be like literally the second it cuts to black, they turn, or it could have been a case of that is Maria, which I think was very deliberate.
Yes,
And
I
throughout this entire series, anytime someone gets shot as a cliffhanger, wait for like 10 seconds. And if they cut away inside that 10 seconds, you can assume that's the scroll.
now my only feeling of like why it definitely was Hill, it kind of needs to be because in my opinion they're very clearly making it feel so Fury feels like he's alone, can't trust anyone, and has to deal with this problem alone. And for that to happen, they essentially need to kill off Hill. And them killing off Hill really puts Fury into a I've lost anyone I can trust. I don't trust anybody. And he'll
I
go
get what you're
like
saying.
super untrustworthy. And I think they need that for the way this show's gonna go.
I get what you're saying, but I raise you one point.
Okay.
Kobe Smulders.
Now, I will say there's one theory because they put out a watch before list, which you sent me.
Mm-hmm.
And a weird thing that I thought on there was they put Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on there, which we've very much been like, is that canon? Is it not? No one's really confirmed. And to me, them saying, oh, you should watch that before this makes me feel like they're saying that's canon now. Agent Coulson
Oh, you got a different way to me.
got brought back.
Okay. You got a completely different way to
Okay.
me, but I'm right there with you with the concept of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. matters here. Okay, so there's a lot of backstory here. I'm going to try and keep it simple, but as with everything comic book related, it's never simple. In one of the late series of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we
Yeah.
get an evil AI world. Is the
Okay.
best way I can describe it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The harnesses they use to be trapped in this world look basically identical to the harnesses the scrolls are using.
Right.
To stop people getting alarmed about the people going missing, they used I forget what they're called in Marvel continuity. They're essentially AI drones, like
Right.
robots, yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
have all their memories. They are also a thing in Marvel Comics that are called like live action decoys or something.
Right, okay.
Um, you could make the argument that that was a live action decoy of Kobe, and that's why she seems so real because it has access to her memories directly.
Yeah.
And that is how the scrolls now have proper access to people's memories because they've got hold of these devices. They've changed them slightly to allow for just a stronger psychic connection.
Well, they're like a mix. So their pods are like a mix of what Carol Danvers got put in
Yeah,
with the like, because that had the fucking purple lasers going into her to like try and read her mind. So it's sort of like they've taken their own tech and then found a way to put it into these pods,
yeah.
which also could be a case of like at first the scrolls that's their tech and they've shared that with Shield when they were friendly with Nick Fury and stuff, and then Shield have built their own things like you're saying. But there is a part of me that's like, why would they mention Agents of Shield? Unless it's because I haven't seen it all, so maybe there's stuff there that I'm missing. But
There's there's lots of stuff because they also deal with decrees.
oh, okay, that potentially as well
So
then.
okay, so in Agents of Shield they have Inhumans.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Inhumans were created as part of the Krees,
Right,
and they're humans that were mixed with Kree blood essentially.
right,
And basically, what you get is you get a bunch of superpowered people who are created by Terrigen Mist, which basically activates the Kree science inside these humans and gives
right.
them their powers.
Got you.
Obviously, the Krees and the Skrulls are enemies.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
okay. Long story short, people are hoping that we get Quake,
Oh, okay.
who was
They're hoping to bring in
Daisy
some.
or Sky, depending on who you're talking about. The only person I want is Melinda Goddamn May.
Okay,
I will trade Maria Hill for Melinda May. I will make that trade.
but yeah, I just the Hill thing very much to me feels like it kind of would feel a bit of a cop out if they went back on it. But at the same time, this whole show is about them trying to throw decoys at us. Um,
This is always the problem, isn't it?
I really liked how they've got us doubting ourselves about everyone that crosses paths with Fury now, because Geekin, is that what the bad guy's name is? Gregor
Reckon.
Grecken.
It's an awkward name. I know
Yeah,
who you mean. Yeah.
he shapeshifted into the girl with the bouncing ball. So then it's like, was he always there? The guy in the bar. So then, like, was that actually him, or is he just happened to also see him? But then you're like, well, it kind of must be right. Or and then he like obviously shapeshifts into Nick Fury. That
It's gonna
then
be
gets you,
so good.
yeah, which then gets you doubting literally every interaction of like who's he crossed paths with, and who has he always been watching him? Was this all a
Was
test?
was the Maria he had a drink with actually Maria? If you look back at what Maria said, she was trying to get him to walk away, but she also said if you don't walk away, someone might get hurt, and then she's been shot. Does that sound like Maria actually being worried about Fury, or does that sound like him trying to lay a threat down?
I'm
Think
also
think of it like traditional, yeah. Forget it's Maria for a minute. Imagine
mm,
it's the villain of the show,
yeah,
and it's Nick Fury. Imagine they just sat down for like a parlay, and he just goes, "I suggest you walk away now before someone gets hurt." Does it not have that same kind of energy if you consider Maria as a scroll in that
yeah.
scene? Yeah,
Do you know what
and
we
it
need to
changes
do?
from a gone.
I wonder if there's any point in other MCU stuff where Maria Hill's been playing chess, and see if she plays the same opening move. Because if she doesn't,
I don't know how hard they've
yeah,
worked on
this is the
this.
thing, right? How far back have they thought about this? Because like that's something there could be such a small hidden detail because Nick Fury would be like, "That's not her opening move," but he's not going to give in that he knows something's up.
Yeah. And here's the thing, I think we're going to get lots of scenes where Fury asks what seem like really weird questions,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just going to be to try and bait someone into slipping up, which I think is what the Bourbon question alluded to.
Yes, there's going to be a
Because
lot of
he was like, "You know my favorite drink. Why have you given me this?" And she's like, "Yeah, you've pissed me off, so you get pissed." And he's kind of like, maybe.
yeah. He's very much going to be never give up what he's actually thinking about that person, but he's going to be asking weird questions or paying attention to weird stuff. Um, Talos's daughter getting
Yeah,
played.
Amelia Clark.
Yeah, she seems great so far in her role. I like
Amelia
how
Clark's just got one of them personalities that I really like.
yeah.
I just look at her and I don't know why she makes me happy. I'm not sure if I like the idea that I might have to root against her a little bit. I hope she
See, well,
very
no,
quickly comes to the good
I
side.
I think she will because based at the end of that with the decoy bags, to me showed that Greeken picked up on that she was lying to him when she said, "Oh, I bumped into someone, but like they weren't anyone." He was like, "Who were they?" And she's like, "Oh, no one important." He knew something was up and said to her, "Oh, these are the bags." Basically, sold her a lie to see if she would pass it on, which she has, and he's going to know that now because they obviously showed up. So I think she has no choice but to come to their side.
Yeah.
Um, but then that also shows that like he is way more ahead of Nick Fury is. Like he's like 3 steps behind, and he needs to figure this shit out fast because he's so much on the back foot.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting this little scene we got with Don Cheadle, being that like they've gone AWOL. Nick Fury was not meant to leave Saber, which makes me think that like he was clearly not the same after the blip. So they're like, "Oh, you go up to Saber and you set up that." Basically,
Yeah,
them being like, "You've got this project we need you to do," but it's really them exiling him.
it's really interesting because it seems like you know too much to be left alive, but you've done nothing wrong to be killed,
Mm,
but you're not field fit.
yep.
It's like when you take someone with a lot of knowledge and just put them in charge of a project. So like, you know how to be the greatest spy in the world. So very quietly go and build this Lego set.
Yeah, and like Nick Fury was in a place mentally where he was probably like, yeah, like I'm happy to just go hide off world. Um, it's strange though, because that's obviously going to be another factor that plays in. But then it's like, is the guy that Don Cheadle talked to, is he a scroll?
It was supposed to be the president, which would be
Well,
a
yeah,
very, very good person for the scrolls to take over, wouldn't it?
it would. We know that
It's
Nick Fury meets with Don Cheadle and says, "Who do you trust?" We've seen that in the trailer, so there's definitely going to be a lot. There's someone we've met already who we think we know who they are, but they're not.
I'm I will also say this first episode has eased my concerns about pacing a little bit.
I also have pacing feels okay, and I think that's because of how they ended the episode. It didn't. If they hadn't done that little ramp up at the end of like shit went wrong, I think I
Yeah,
would have been
if
like,
they'd have pushed the terrorist attack to the beginning of next episode,
mm.
pacing would have started to
It
slip
well,
already. I
it
think
it
we're
would
at a
have
good
felt like a
spot.
slow start, whereas this feels like a good pace for
Yeah.
the start.
And I think that's helped by the fact that they're not trying to start this story as if it's just started. This is
No,
something that's been happening underground. We're starting with Nick Fury entering the story,
mm-hmm.
which is already a year into this problem.
Yeah, like we're hitting the ground with Nick Fury and essentially trying to pick up on it as he is.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We're trying to get up to speed like he is.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm looking forward to it though. I like the episode length, I have to say. I do like a longer episode.
I'm very excited for next week's episode already.
I also am very excited. Um, I think maybe episode 3 is where we get the like suit up and Nick Fury gets back like gets over whatever the fuck
Do we
he's
know
going
how many
through.
episodes it's supposed to be? Is it
I'm
6?
not sure. I was thinking maybe 8, but maybe that's.
I wish it's 8. I don't think it is though.
I don't.
6.
Is it 6?
Yeah.
Okay,
6.
so maybe next episode we get Suit Up.
I think it'll be episode 4.
Oh, you think it'll be later?
Yeah. Most of the other shows that have had pacing issues, they haven't properly suited up till the very last episode. I'm giving them.
Okay,
We get a
yeah.
whole episode of prime Nick Fury. Also, Samuel L. Jackson said in an interview, he will always answer the phone to play Nick Fury for Marvel. He's dying. Nick Fury dies at the end of this. I'm calling it now. No one who is 70 years of age, and by the way, is always like 1 or 2 in most grossing actors of all time, just goes, "Oh, I'll answer the phone whenever they call." Samuel L. Jackson works harder than anyone in fucking film. He can't just answer whenever they call. He might have other shit going on. He is dying at the end of this, and he's saying, "Hey guys, if you ever want me to come back, I'm available."
Does he die, or does he just get
He dies.
banished to Saber?
He dies. But
But
they will kill him off in a way
whoa,
that
wait.
allows us to sit here and go, maybe it was a scroll for the rest of eternity.
Depends on timeline though, because he's in the Marvels.
Oh shit, he is, isn't he?
Yeah, he was in the trailer.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Oh no, wait, that could just be a scroll. That could literally just be Talos.
Connor's completely.
Nothing.
He doesn't care what anyone says now. Everyone's a scroll.
In the words of the Sun newspaper, never let evidence get in the way of a good story.
Every character moving forward in the MCU after this TV show is a scroll.
Can be a scroll. Yeah, if it doesn't suit my agenda, they're a scroll. But we know Talos has been playing around as Nick Fury since Far From Home. So, like,
that's
Nick
another
Fury
reason I think Hill's dead, because
Nick Fury being a scroll means nothing to me. Or
the
being
scroll that used to impersonate Hill was Talos' wife,
who's dead.
Who's dead. So there's no scroll to like easily impersonate her. So that's another reason I think she's actually dead. But yeah, I look forward to next week. Very excited.
Yeah, very much so.